Hola, hola, and buenos dias, GnGs. My name is Trekkw2ks, and welcome to another episode of Weekend Crypto, where basically, if you don't know, I cover the weekend news that happens between the Friday evening and the Sunday evening. And so, yeah, hence Weekend Crypto. And yeah, I'm Trekkw2ks. So I'm gonna get into these stories, and they're not really too much to go on, really. I don't know, just the story seemed weird to me this weekend, but whatever on that. Nonetheless, before I get into that, I do want to say thank you to the folks who are tuning in. Thank you to folks who are coming back and not letting this crypto winter thing, this going on in the bigger economy stuff, deter them from still at least using my segment, the Gentleman of Crypto Network as a whole, as a part of their information source for what they're trying to learn and understand about this thing we call the blockchain crypto space. And just saying on behalf of, at least for myself and what I'm doing, and for how I've been working to put this channel together for Weekend Crypto, I just want to say thank y'all for tapping in. I do appreciate y'all coming back. All right, let's jump into these stories. And this is something that King and Zay would call a base hit, right? So California DMV to digitize car title management systems via Tezos. If you a fan of Tezos, then all right, this is like great news to you, right? Because now it's, oh, Tezos has utility in like real world practical application. Okay. So let's get into some of these highlights. I do have some issues with how this is going to play out. We'll see how the growing pains work out. California Department of Motor Vehicle DMV is testing out the digitization of car titles and title transfers via a private Tezos blockchain. First issue, right? First issue. The move is part of a collaboration between the California DMV, Tezos, and a blockchain software firm called Oxhead Alpha, with the latter announcing a successful proof of concept on January 25th. So this recently happened, but this particular announcement came out on Friday evening at some point. So California DMV has tapped Oxhead Alpha to build a private Tezos testnet that should be dubbed a shadow ledger. Second off, who thought that was a good idea to even say that way through the PR announcement? Because now this might stick and it's going to sound questionable. I'm just saying. It is essentially designed to become a blockchain-based application of the agency's current database, which is not a blockchain. Okay. California's DMV's chief digital officer, AJ Gupta, told Fortune on the 26th that the agency wants to have the shadow ledger ironed out within the next 3 months. My guy, why? I don't know if the author is the one who's using the word shadow, the phrase shadow ledger, or if he actually said that to Fortune, but I don't think you want to stick with that. Just saying. Following on from that, it is looking to roll out applications such as digital wallets to hold and transfer non-fungible token car titles, with the DMV acting as the middleman to oversee the operation. So, how about we address this issue of you're blatantly making the blockchain work where you have to have a middleman? Is it really first off, it's a private blockchain. It's a private application of what is being called a distributed ledger. And then on top of it, you're putting the fix in for the middleman, being the DMV. What are we doing but working backwards right here? Again, though, arguably, this is a base hit. This is at least what King and Zay would say. I'm just like, all right, I guess we're gonna have to go through the growing pains on this one for them to learn the hard way why what they're doing is going to run into a number of issues. Aside from the fact of it just being a treasure trove of information, and then the other thing of if the DMV for California does it, what do you do when the state next to you or the state like 3 states over goes, all right, we don't want to do that one. We want to do Ethereum. No, not even Ethereum, because this is in the whole EVM ecosystem. But let's say they say we'll do wax. What do you do then? Or if they say they do waves, what do you do then? Like this, and it's gonna be growing pains, y'all. It's a base hit, but it's gonna be growing pains, is the bottom line of it. So that came out. So that's like arguably good news stuff. Next story jumping in. This is all for the XRP army. I would really like someone from the XRP army to leave a comment and explain this scenario to me and what they understand it to mean, honestly. So Ripple announces new president as firm awaits ruling in SEC lawsuit. When I first read this, I'm like, wait, did dude get fired? Not that he got fired, but there is a readjustment to the leadership board, the C-suite level folks that, deal with what they do it at the company. And this was probably more than likely already in plans before the final decision comes out for the seat case that they have with the SEC. Let me get into these highlights a little bit here. So, blockchain firm Ripple has announced a new president as the company gears up for the ruling in the lawsuit by the Securities and Exchange Commission. The company has announced Monica Long to the president position after she served as a senior vice president and general manager, Ripple announced in a blog posted on January 27th. Yeah, this came out on Friday. According to the company, Long, who joined in 2013, has been instrumental in helping Ripple attain a strong financial position despite the different phases of the crypto market. In her previous role, Long was responsible for steering the company's product, engineering, partnership, marketing, and developer relations. This lady has worn a lot of hats, so she really understands the company. That's what that sounds like, bottom line. My thing is, and how do I say this? In regards to like when companies are like at this size and this big, let's say, as a company, there's a difference between what the CEO does, what the COO does, what the president of a company does. Like their roles as far as being the public figure versus the person who's at like X amount of the actual like business meetings. Like there's different roles in this thing. I do question though, what does this mean for them? Did they come up with either this was part of the contingency for them getting, how do I say this? I don't think Ripple will lose the case. That being said, I am not a financial advisor, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a CPA. How I look at it though is for as long as this case was drawn out, they were pretty good at being able to fight off the SEC lawyers with their lawyers. And they also had the bank to be able to hold off the SEC lawyers long enough, because usually what the SEC does is, depending on what charges they hit you with, they can cut off your money supply. So if they cut off your money supply and your lawyer is one of those like, no, dog, if you don't have the check, like if you don't got the money in the bank, I don't do nothing for you. They weren't in that scenario. But I do know somebody who that did happen to, and that's how they tried to get him. Mr. Reggie Middleton. That's how they tried to get him. They tried to cut off the money source, and so that way he wouldn't have been able to defend himself. But Ripple, on the other hand, they did have the resources for that. So my point is, at least how I'm looking at it, and I haven't deep dived into this, so don't kill me, XRP Army. The SEC hasn't been able to blatantly just be like, it is what we say it is, and there's nothing you can do about it. They got good lawyers. The dude, John something, is one of them, I think. And so when this final decision comes out, I think there's going to be some give and take. But I think what they more than likely look to do was, no matter what the situation is or how they projected it to go, they knew they had to change certain positions on the leadership side, because they're probably going to push for another phase of things to push out on the company as company products, as partnerships and stuff like that. And in all honesty, yo, it ain't like they not doing stuff outside the US. So if they get this legal situation in the US squared away, oh, it's about to be on and popping for them. Like, as long as they don't have a flat out loss, it is about to be on and popping for the Ripple Army. And assuming they don't do nothing like super crazy where the government like turns around and just like backhands them. But I don't know. I don't see them flat out losing. I see it being one of those, you guys can't do blah, blah, blah anymore. Or they might lock them out of a market for like X amount of years and then be like, okay, after this point, you can come back. But that's after the government gets its foothold in that market. If this makes sense, I got my little Scully cap on right now. It might be a little bit too tight, but that's how I'm looking at this situation. I do question what this means for them and their roadmap. I think they had contingencies for how to proceed, but I don't know, like, how do I say this? And I'm gonna leave it on this note. It's not clear if this was already in the process before they had any inclinations for how the case would end, or was this already like on the roadmap because they already had other things like in position to do. Jumping on to this next thing. So Matter Lab fixes security issues in ZK Sync's layer 2 after Open Zeppelin audits. All right, so the TLDR part of it is the latest security audit on ZK Sync by Open Zeppelin uncovered 45 issues, with 40 of them already resolved by Matter Labs. Open Zeppelin and Matter Labs have extended their partnership to ensure long-term security of ZK Sync. Open Zeppelin is a provider of smart contract security solutions, has released the results of its latest security audits on ZK Sync, a zero knowledge proof-based scaling solution developed by Matter Labs. The audit reportedly uncovered a number of issues, most of which have been fixed. Of the 45 issues found by Open Zeppelin, two previous audits, 40 of them resolved by 40 have been resolved by the Matter Labs team, including two critical and two medium security issues, Open Zeppelin said in a statement shared with the block. All right. The most recent audit, which concluded in December, focused on ZK Sync's system called Bootloader, as well as three more layer two system smart contracts with corresponding interfaces and one library. All right. So this happened. If you're on a technical side, this is definitely more up your alleyway. You probably might find something on this on what's the site called Rec that might have more detail than what's in this article. But the point being is this came out, I guess, to say that this is a good thing for like community policing in regards to companies actively having security audits and having good, effective partners. Let's say I'm not familiar with Open Zeppelin as where they rank in the top 10 of like crypto security firms or security firms in general. But the idea that they're being proactive about making sure one of the things that they help put out into this world is secure enough as can be, because nothing can be 100% secure. You have that, it's a sliding scale thing of the when somebody figures out how to get around it. So this is a good news in regards to that. If you're a technical person, this is something that is a good positive story to hear about in the space. How you feel about Matter Labs is another thing, or Open Zeppelin, or how you look at ZK Sync as a layer 2 solution. I'm not going to get into all of those because I don't actually have any positions on any of those things that I just listed. But nonetheless, this did come out over the weekend. And so if you are using any of the blockchains that have that technology in it, at least you know you're a little secure, a little more secure. You're not 100%, but it's a little bit more, right? Because they fixed the issues. Jumping on to this next joint, White House, the White House seeks public opinion on crypto policy. Huh. If this shit ain't some virtue, it ain't virtue signaling, but I feel like is it's not necessarily gaslighting. Because here's the thing. Okay, so let me get through the highlights so y'all can see why I don't really care for this. But this did get put out. The White House Office of Science and Technology Policy is seeking feedback from the public that will go towards the development of a cryptocurrency policy. According to the entity, the public opinion on the matter will be key in identifying critical focus areas in researching and developing cryptocurrencies, OSTP said in a journal on January 26th. The agency, which is working on the policy on behalf of the Fast Track Action Committee, noted that the opinion to be submitted by the 20. So I am really being bad at reading today. Oh Lord, this is worse than usual. Sorry, y'all. Who is it? The Fast Track noted that the opinion to be submitted by March 23rd should focus on cryptocurrencies in general and related to such and related elements such as blockchain, distributed ledger, decentralized finance, and smart contracts. All right, bet. My first question is, what y'all doing with Reggie Middleton and his patent? I'm gonna get up close. What y'all doing with Reggie Middleton and his patent? If you saying distributed ledger technology, if you saying decentralized finance, I'm just saying, you already know the patent office got the number. Just saying, if it's about understanding what's going on and your policy, how are y'all looking at Reggie Middleton's patent that got cleared? He put it in 2014, but it got cleared like last year. So what are y'all doing about that? Like, how are y'all seeing that within this whole policy thing? All right, let me get back. The bottom line is I don't take this thing of the public, what you call it, serious. But if you are interested in saying something, definitely do look up who the Office of Science and Technology Policy is. They probably have some kind of link or something on their website about it. This will go to the whole thing of public community policing because it's open to everyone who would go on the site, I'm guessing. Because in this article, there's actually, what is it? No, comes out there. Yeah, there's no link to the site or where to the forum or anything is. And March is just 2 months away. You know what I'm saying? If this is a real thing, okay, but here's where my other issue is, right? The executive order gave the signal to all of the individual agencies and departments. So that's the DOJ, that's the Treasury, that's the Federal Reserve, the CFTF, the SEC, like all of these different departments and agencies got the signal off of the executive order that Biden did to go and do their own individual things of the hungry, hungry hippo game, right? What does this then, how would this, I don't know, what do you call this? How would this department or how would this group within the White House policy setup relate to all of those individual departments? Like your whatever policy they came up with, would it just be in tandem with what the individual SEC, DOJ, CFTF, like, or is it we're above them? I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there. Somebody else might know better than me. Please leave a comment or something. And if you want to follow up on this, as always, the links are in the description on this, right? So yeah, I'm gonna just leave that one there. And that's what they said they're trying to do, but we'll see how that plays out. Next story, IoT enters next phase of EU blockchain PCP. Yo, so if you know, I didn't know what this was until I actually saw this article. IOTA selected for next phase of European Commission's blockchain pre-commercial procurement. The T of it is this: the IoT Foundation completes rigorous testing in phase 2A of the EU's blockchain pre-commercial procurement and is selected for the next phase to develop and test a larger scale and to test at a larger scale a distributed ledger solution for developing improved European-wide blockchain services. So this is arguably the same version of what the DMV in California is doing with Tezos. They're looking to make a private blockchain to be able to do all of these, how to say this, keep track of the activities and stuff. The thing that gets me is that this is not going to be an open source thing, and arguably for what it's being used for, it shouldn't be. If you are interested, this is actually on the IOTA's own blog site. I forgot. Yeah, I actually came across this through the news aggregator I use. What is the other thing to know? It's been a while since IOTA has been in like the news for anything. And so arguably this is another base hit for like government or large body, political body adoption. Arguably, this is a base hit. Things are coming out. As we said, it's been after Martin Luther King's Day for a couple of days now, so things are coming out. I'm gonna read these 2 paragraphs just to give a little bit more detail. It sounds good, but I guess it's one of those, we'll see how it actually plays out and how it's utilized. The growing pains. If they make it to the final actual, hey, we're going with you guys and not going with another blockchain. We'll see. So the European Commission has selected the IOTA Foundation for the next phase of the European blockchain pre-commercial procurement. The aims of the PCP is to test if novel blockchain technologies can be developed and tested that could potentially be used in the future to improve the network capabilities, uh, capacities and use case of the European blockchain service infrastructure. EBSI, IBSI, I think that's IPSI, will will enable verified information to flow between institutions, enterprises, and individuals throughout the European Economic Area. So basically, this is like the infrastructure back inside of the CBDC? Maybe? I don't know. Established in 2019 by the European Blockchain Partnership, the EBSI aims to develop a distributed ledger network across the European community to support cross-border services between government, businesses, and individuals. Its goals are to enhance cross-border mobility, reduce the waste of resources, enforce compliance with EU regulations, and encourage the growth of the tech hubs and projects while making digital services more trustworthy. Thanks to the EBSI, verified information will flow quickly and reliably across Europe. It just sounds like you wanted another like bigger centralized database that works on multiple different tiers. So government level, private sector, and retail level, which is like civilian side. Again, I still come back to the same thing of if you're using this blockchain technology in this matter, how does this work for Reggie Middleton's patent that he has here in the US and in Japan, the two strongest patent offices globally? Just saying, just throwing it out there. If anybody's interested in this, though, as far as the IOTA thing, link will be in the description so you could read up on the more details of it. And so I'm at this last story, Polkadot. I saw this, and if you've been following me for any amount of time, I'm not the biggest fan of doing price talk. And the reason why I don't do price talk is people just get stupid when you talk about money and the speculative stuff and blah, blah, blah. And greed is a hell of a motivator, right? But in regards to this story, the reason why I did actually pull it to cover the story is because I wanted to make a point about something when it comes to what gets thrown out in this news cycle to either quell market sentiment or push and drive market sentiment behind a project or behind a person or a figure, excuse me, or a company. And this actually goes across the board in any industry or sector, but particularly this is Weekend Crypto, so I'm talking about crypto, right? So Polkadot becomes the top crypto by development activity after surpassing Cardano. That is the clickbait title to be like, oh, yo, Polkadot's a new shit. Then you get into the stuff here. Then you start getting down into I don't know if minutia is the right word, but then you start getting into the details of it. So highlights are this, right? Polkadot, a blockchain network often described as a blockchain of blockchains. I don't say that. I've never said that. A blockchain of blockchains has recently become the leading cryptocurrency network by development activity after surpassing Cardano. Okay. But wait, there's more. According to data shared by on-chain analytics firm Sentiment, Polkadot development activity, along with that of its pre-production network Kusama over the last 30 days, was superior to that of the smart contract platform Cardano. First off, listen to what they're telling you, that they're combining pre-production stuff when the team was running around crazy trying to get everything together with when everything actually came online. And then your window is only for a 30-day period so far, right? Over the last 30 days was superior to the smart contract platform Cardano. Now, don't get it twisted. I'm not over here saying like I'm the biggest fan of Cardano or anything like that. My point of why I'm bringing this up is that the way these stories are put together when it comes to trying to push market sentiment or in a direction, they'll find things that, yeah, this can count as a metric, but what does that mean over a 60-day period? What does that mean over a 2-year period? If we say over 24 months, what does that mean? Especially if you then get into how old is this project A that you're comparing to project B? This is the same thing that we saw in when what was the situation? The situation with Terra Luna happened, and then all of a sudden they came out with that whole like, oh, proof of reserves, we want to show you this. But then the details of it is we're showing you what is the on-chain side of the business. We're not showing you what is the off-chain side of the business. And then you don't, unless you really know how to dig through the data, you can get caught up in just because you saw a snapshot of something like 3 weeks ago, and then come 3 weeks later, it's nowhere near what it looked like 3 weeks ago. And it goes to the same point that's actually in this last highlight here. Development activity it's worth noting, is a metric measuring the development activity in project's public GitHub repository and does not include private repository works. So the idea that just because we looked at this thing over the last 30 days, it looks like it's been doing something great, but we're only going to count a certain part of it. It's the same thing we do here in regards to what CPI looks like when we talk about consumer price index. We don't count food like that. We don't count gas. And there's another thing that they don't count in it. And they changed that either the 80s or the 90s or something like that. But we want to say, oh, yeah, everything is great with the CPI. It's not, because the things that actually matter to give you a more contextual understanding of, is this thing going up? Is this thing going down? Is it actually showing a trend of sustainability? Those aren't the parts of the metric that you're counting to show people. That's why I brought this story up. I'm not saying anything bad about Polkadot other than this particular thing here. And it's not even that Polkadot really pushed it out there. It was, they needed a story to talk about between Polkadot and Cardano. And I swear, like, Cardano is in the news every day. And I look at this news aggregator every couple of days and I see Cardano every day. So yeah, point being, y'all, is you gotta take all of this shit with a grain of salt, man. You gotta take all of this shit with a grain of salt. Nonetheless, I'm closing it out on that. That was the last story. Again, I am Trekkw2ks. This is Weekend Crypto, brought to you here on the Gentleman of Crypto YouTube channel. And the basic idea, as I said, I cover the news on the weekends, Friday evening to Sunday, and it pops out Monday morning at 08 before the live stream, before the Stacks Brothers. And yeah, we killing it that way. Other thing to note, I want to say thank you to the folks who are tapping in on the Metaverse is the Other Side that me and my co-host 3D do, which comes out Friday evenings at 11 p.m. We got some stuff in the works. We're working on some other stuff right now in relation to Metaverse tech, and it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. So I'm really hoping in the next coming weeks and days, we can get the proof of concept part of it off and popping, and I can say something. So nonetheless, thank y'all for checking out Weekend Crypto. Thank y'all for checking out the Metaverse is the Other Side. And thank you to King and Zay for even letting us bring the Metaverse is the Other Side onto the network. We do appreciate. And other than that, folks, I'm closing it out. As I say, it is a Monday. Do have a productive over busy day. If you cannot do that, please at least be in a safe place, in a safe space. And that is the best thing that I can wish for anybody, enemy and all, right? Be in a safe place, in a safe space. Other than that, oh, shit. One.